The pace of change with AI is dizzying. And one thing that we use to hold ourselves steady at the center is something called digital agency. Digital agency is having meaningful choice and intention and control over how a technology fits into your life. And in this case, how generative AI technologies are fitting not only into our lives, but also into learning environments. And we've created a framework that helps us to support that in our lives and learning, and also helps us to see where it's missing. So I want to walk you through what the framework is as a way into our discussion of these resources. So the framework, like many frameworks, starts with a shape, in this case, a box. And there are 3 rows in the box, and each row corresponds to a different literacy that you need in order to have agency with AI. The first literacy is the one we're all familiar with. We call that technical literacy. So the first box describes, how do we use these tools? How do they work? When should we use them? But that's not the only literacy that we need when it comes to these tools. We also need something we call market literacy. This is literacy of what incentivizes the tools, the business models that they operate under, why they're designed the way that they are, and how those incentives shape our use and our behavior and choices that we have with them. So that is also a very important kind of literacy we need when we think about having agency with these tools. And then the third literacy that we think is important is a literacy called self-literacy. I realize I probably need to move myself over here. Self-literacy. And the reason self-literacy is important is because these tools are knowing us increasingly well. The more we chat with them, the more they understand how our psychology and cognition work. And so it's important for us to know who we are and who we're becoming in relationship to these tools, so that we make sure that our use of them aligns with our values, our goals, and our moral compass. So those are the 3 literacies, the 3 rows of the framework. But the framework also has 3 columns. And in this first column, all of these columns have to do with human agency. Albert Bandura, who is a psychologist, you may already know of him. He's kind of famous for some Bobo doll experiments he did. He's also famous for self-efficacy theory. Albert Bandura described 3 modes of agency that humans have. And so we put all 3 of these modes in each one of these rows of the column. So the first one is individual agency. And this is essentially knowing what you want and the ability to go make that happen. But that's not the only way that we have agency in our lives. We also have agency as collective, where we have to work together to figure out how to meet our needs. And we have something he called proxy agency, which is when we use something like a technology or a tool or even another person to get what we want or need. Someone acts on our behalf. So when we look at these 3 columns, individual, collective, and proxy, across these 3 rows, technical, market, and self, we get 9 different dimensions of agency with AI. And we can start to look at where we're hungry and where it might be missing. And we can start to look how to support it for ourselves as educators, or how to make choices that support it for our students. I think that the most important thing that it does, not just diagnosing, not just having a practical or tactical way of engaging agency, but Albert Bandura also said that having agency is not just the capacity to get what you need or want, it's the belief that you have that capacity. So I think one of the coolest things and one of the most opportune things that this tool can do is to give us hope that we can have more of a say over how AI is shaping our lives and learning. Thank you.